and welcome to our interview series, Stand Ready. Today, we are going to talk with Pesco and our bulk solid industry expert within Century Equipment. The powder and bulk market accounts for 70% of the manufacturing life cycle of pretty much most products on Earth. This sector helps prevent dust explosions in sawmills and grain silos and keeps business like pharmaceutical plants and industrial bakeries running. With this impact that the market makes, it is important to ensure that this industry keeps its production up. A part of that is through sampling. So today we're going to talk about bulk solid sampling and the importance of that within the industry. So today we're talking with John from Pesco. They have over 50 plus years of experience within the industry. And we have Todd Myers, who has 10 plus years at Century, as well as many other years in different bulk solid industries. So two great experts today. The first question, what would each of you describe as the core goals of the powder and bulk solid market?
So obviously the core goal is to produce products that get consumed in so many different industries. It's hard to identify that, but it's simply just moving products around so that they can be further produced into product. You know, it's such a broad industry. It covers everything from forest products to chemicals to food products, and of course reliable product controls and reliable equipment needed to move those is really sort of what's at the core of the segment of the industry that we're most familiar with.
Todd?
I would agree with John. It's moving and processing bulk solids materials as efficiently and safely as possible to get the end result of a product that the consumers would be dealing with.
All right. So where in this vast array of different applications is bulk solid processing sampling needed the most? So we want to support those goals. So how does sampling kind of do that?
So that, again, sort of broad question, but sampling in support of the production is measuring and making sure that the process is meeting the requirements to produce the end product. So, whether we're looking for foreign materials, or we're looking for particle size, or we're looking for composition, growths that shouldn't be in the product. There's so many things that supports, and then sampling, of course, is keeping the product safe, right? So we will a lot of times sample before something goes into a package or goes into a rail car or a truck, and it can be used to assure that for example, they'll sample fly ash or that's going to be used in a roadway, so that you can go back and historically look and make sure that the proper materials were used. And so I know that's sort of a rambling answer, but that would be how I see it fits in the bulk solids industry.
Anything to add, Todd?
Again, John's right. Essentially, you're seeing a few basic points in a processing plant. On the incoming side, we're checking to make sure that our supplier is providing what we've asked for. Any step in the process, after, say, whether it's size reduction, whether it's blending, whether it's a cooking or chemical process, and that's to check process efficiencies. And then also we're looking for inconsistencies with the product. When you get into food production, you're looking for growth or bacteria. And then the final point would be at the door, whether it's a packaged product to go to the consumer or a processed material that's going on to another processor, we're checking that final product to make sure that what we're supplying to the next user is what they've specified.
So it seems like sampling is super important in these processes, but I feel like in conversations with you guys, we've talked about how they often choose manual sampling over the automatic version. Why do you think so many companies within the market do that?
Well, that's a tough one to answer because it's so individual. Oftentimes it's convenience. Sometimes it's not a understanding of what's available. Sometimes it's by necessity that the product they're sampling is just not a good fit for the available technologies that are out there. But more often than not, I think it's a lack of awareness of what's available, and and obviously cost is always a factor. Oftentimes sampling can be somewhat of a luxury when it's not necessarily keeping the process running. Um, Sometimes it's thought of as a luxury to have it automatically collected.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd think that the big differences between choosing to go with manual sampling over automatic sampling, oftentimes is when you're looking at the overall uh, uh, purpose of sampling, and the scope. So in some cases, whereas the food and pharmaceutical areas like that, where sampling is ultra critical, you'll see it more easily accepted to go with automatic sampling. In some cases, the product being produced is just a a bulk enough and cheap enough product that the cost for the automatic sampling is tough to justify. But in between a lot of that, there is, as John alluded to, the not being aware of what's available, and in some cases, we can provide sampling in a myriad of applications and locations. But in some cases, it's just physically sometimes impossible to put a sampler in there. But we try to work to the best of our abilities to do what we can provide to the customer.
How do you highlight the benefits to their managers or help these operators highlight the benefits so you can help install and equip them with automatic sampling?
So I think many times it's a similar justification to so many other products. The first one that comes to mind for me is safety. Todd alluded to accessibility, right? Sometimes it's just not a very accessible point, or you're working with something with an elevated temperature, or something that has some acidity to it, or something where you want to try to limit the exposure to the employee. It's a machine, so it's going to be repeatable. It's going to do it on a schedule. You're not relying on the human error. You're eliminating the human error portion of sampling by going with an automatic sampler. So you take out that, if I'm supposed to take a sample, you're filling packaging, you're supposed to take a sample every 100 bags, or number of samples per rail car, number of samples per truck. With an automatic system that you're getting those samples. You don't necessarily know whether someone just took samples off the top of the truck and filled their sample jar and said, hey, it's done. So those are really the bigger reasons that I see. And then again, with automatic sampling in process, where they need to check and make sure that what's being produced is meeting the specifications of the product, or what's required to move further down in the process. Again, that is where automatic sampling is consistent, and delivers a consistent sample taken at the either a cross a cross cut sample where it's taken across the sample, or a spot, or depending on what they're doing. So.
Yeah, Kate, you and I have talked about this in the past, and I've brought it up. Safety is a key factor. When you look at the variety of materials, the variety of environments where we would see someone need to be sampling, oftentimes there are safety issues there. So first and foremost, using automatic sampling provides a level of safety for the operators in the plant. And then secondly, and John pointed to this as well, is the amount of time that you have to tie up labor in order to take samples. If you're on a strict regimen of taking X number of samples per batch or per truckload or something like that, that's tying up an operator nearly all day, just making sure that he's getting the samples at the appropriate time. If he's not, then you've not got a representative sample. With automatic sampling, we can assure that the sample is representative and being taken on time, and that operator is free to go take care of other responsibilities in the process.
Makes sense. So, given the personnel and safety concerns, what have you found some of the best applications for automatic sampling?
Wow. So I think some of the most common applications are those where we are sampling where a product is going into a package, and that is probably the most common one that I see in what I'm involved in.
One of the things that I think about, and John, you're familiar with this operation too, but after loadout spouts, when you're a truck or a rail car filling, oftentimes an operator would need to be harnessed in and up on top of a rail car or a truck in order to take a manual sample. Obvious dangers there involved. It's a safety risk. With automatic sampling, we can take that sample without an operator having to put on the fall harness, climb up on top of a rail car or a truck. So from a safety standpoint, it's great. And from a cost analysis, obviously that's going to be much more economical over the long haul than manual operators going out and taking that sample.
So, how do you approach companies who are interested in automatic sampling but don't know where to start? What advice would you have for them?
We rely on our representative network, folks like John and groups like Pesco that have long-standing relationships with all the customers or several customers in their industry to identify their operations, their processes, and being able to understand all facets of a process and all the various different pieces of equipment and components that go into that. Folks like John and groups like Pesco can uh, point out to the customer what he's seen in the market, other people are having success with, and what may benefit that specific customer. And so that's typically how we get in to see and work with the customer that needs our equipment.
Yeah, and I would concur with that exactly. And it's for them, there's a lot of helpful tools out there, like the Century website, gives you a lot of information about the different technologies that are available. They give you application data. It's a good tool for that. And then just reaching out to the sales group and allowing us to share our experience and application knowledge. Century enjoys a lot of really good applications, technical salespeople that are part of their company and part of their rep network. And so, reaching out to someone in that chain of people is a great way to learn and understand. And as a representative, we try to recognize where the potential may exist and somebody's not perhaps doing it. So you're in the plant and you recognize that you don't see a sampler on a bagging line or on a super sack filler, or then you might just ask and say, hey, um, have you guys thought about sampling, and are you doing sampling? Those sorts of questions. But
Perfect. So let's get out a crystal ball for a second. What do you see as the future when it comes to powder and bulk solid sampling? Are we there? Do we have more to learn? What are your thoughts?
Oh, well, you know, I wouldn't say we're there. I mean, there's certainly plenty of opportunities for sampling. And again, as Todd alluded to earlier, there's savings as labor shortages continue to be more of a challenge for businesses. You know, automatic sampling helps with that, and you know, you take that task out of the need of an employee to go do that. So I think there's a lot of opportunity yet. I mean, there's still a lot of you know, as industries evolve, you can look at the food safety regulations in the animal feed world. Again, the safety regulations, the trying to prevent the diseases that are traveling across the country and the animals. And as we outsource more and more products from outside the control of the company, you know, you need to test those and make sure that they are, in fact, what you're expecting and meet the requirements of the application. So a long way to go yet, I think. Plenty of opportunity, I should say, for sampling in the future here.
I would agree, and I think with the pattern bulk solids components and systems that you see, there's always innovation, always moving forward. And I would say that one of the important things with sampling is getting that analysis as soon as possible. Now, right now, obviously, we're gathering a sample and that's being taken to a lab or at some point being analyzed after the fact. I think the future would involve near real time or real time analysis, whether you're, uh, partnering with some type of analyzer or something like that. That's probably where we're going to be, and it's not going to happen real soon. But I would say down the road, that's something that everybody is looking to and asking for. Number one, right now, economics wouldn't allow that. Analyzers are pretty expensive, but I think we'll get to that point where we'll see closer to real time, maybe call it near time analysis after sample.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for your insight today. And I look forward to seeing how the future of sampling works out.
All
Thanks, Kate.
right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Todd.
Kate.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
John.